Welcome back. I'm your host. I'm attorney Stephen Leahy, and this is the IRS Radio Hour on AM 560, The Answer. I'm joined here with our technical producer, Deborah Schreiner, and not my co-host, Jim Leahy. He ain't here. So we're going to go on without him. Let's do the next segment, Barbara. Barbara.
Here's that man with a head just crammed full of knowledge, Mr. Know-It-All.
That's right, the segment where attorney Stephen Leahy answers your burning questions about everything from puppies to the IRS to tax liens, levies, garnishments, and other IRS-related issues. Mr. Know-It-All.
Very good. Thank you, Deborah. And also bankruptcy stuff, because that's what I'm going to answer today. Because the question then comes in. If I file a Chapter 13, can I pay my unsecured creditors 10 cents on the dollar? And the answer is, like it always is with illegal questions.
It depends.
It depends. Very good. Deborah does listen to the show.
I do listen.
And she knows, because the answer is it depends. And it really, and what does it depend on? Well, there's a number of things that are at issue here. So I got a call this week, and they had filed for Chapter 7 some time ago. And now they're saying, well, we need probably to file a Chapter 13, and because they're having some issues with debt. And so there's two things. So, well, how much do I have to repay? And again, that's where this question comes from. How much do I have to repay if I file a Chapter 13? I know with Chapter 7, I can generally walk away from my debt and not pay my unsecured creditors anything. But can I do that in a Chapter 13? So here's the answer. The quick answer is sometimes, because there's two analysis that goes into figuring out how much you must repay under a Chapter 13 plan. Okay, so remember, there's two types of protection offered by the federal government under this term bankruptcy. The first one is falls under Chapter 7, and it's called liquidation. And liquidation, some time ago, the changed the law and to make it that if you make more than the average family your size, you can't file a Chapter 7. You can file it, but you won't get the discharge. Okay, so a lot of people are forced into Chapter 13, and then they said, well, how much do I have to repay then? Well, again, there's two analysis. Chapter 13, the title of Chapter 13 is Adjustment of Debt for Individuals with Regular Income. And the two analysis, one starts with what they call a budget, a disposable income analysis. And what the disposable income is the difference between what my income is, which I can prove fairly easily, and what my reasonable and necessary expenses are. If I subtract that from my income, what's left is called disposable income. That's the number. That's the amount that I promise to repay to the creditors each and every month for repayment of my debt. So sometimes that's 10 cents on the dollar. So if I have $60,000 in debt and I'm going to pay 10 cents on the dollar, I'm going to pay him $6,000 over a 5-year term. Or because if I'm over the mean, I must be in bankruptcy, Chapter 13 bankruptcy, for 5 years. So if I paid $100 a month for every month for 5 years, that's 60 months, that's $6,000. That's what I'd have to pay. But here's where the problem is. The second analysis is called the liquidation analysis. And as I just mentioned to you, the title of Chapter 7 is liquidation. So what happens is you look to Chapter 7, you say, if I filed a Chapter 7, how much of my assets would be available to my creditors under a Chapter 7? So under Chapter 7, all of my debt, except all my assets above the level of exemptions allowed by law are taken. So there's exemptions that are allowed. So for instance, if I own a home, I'm allowed $15,000 in equity in the home to protect it. If I'm married, then we're both entitled to $15,000 or $30,000. But if I have a home, for instance, let's say the home is worth $300,000 and I only owe $200,000. Well, there's $100,000 in equity. And if I deduct my exemptions, $30,000, I still have $70,000 left in equity that it would be available to my creditors if I were to file a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. And so the law says under Chapter 13 that my creditors could do no worse under Chapter 13 than they could if they forced a liquidation under Chapter 7. What does that mean? That means if there was going to be $70,000 worth of my house available if I filed Chapter 7, if I file a Chapter 13, my creditors must be able to get that $70,000 is available to my creditors. So if I had $70,000 in unsecured debt, I'd have to repay them 100% of everything that they own, that I owed them, in order to fund a Chapter 13 plan and get a discharge. Okay, so this is where that comes in. So it really depends on what kind of assets you have. Now, one of the good things is a lot of people, their assets is in a retirement account, but the retirement accounts are exempt, so you don't count those in the liquidation analysis. So it really goes to, what kind of equity do I have in my home? So if I have a lot of equity in my home, then Chapter 7 certainly won't work for you, because you'll have to give up your home because they'll sell it. But it also makes it very difficult for a Chapter 13 to work for you. So if you have these problems, right, if you're thinking about it, you should give me a call at 312-664-6649. Anyway, I hope that answered your question.
Thank you, Mr. Know-It-All.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Know-It-All. That's me. So I want to. But again, these are important questions. It's very complicated, and I'll be happy to explain it to you over the phone. So give me a call, 312-664-6649. Again, that number's 312-664-6649. I help people with bankruptcies. We help people with foreclosures, and we help people with IRS problems. So if you have IRS problems, give us a call at 312-664-6649. Again, it's 312-664-6649. Visit us on the web at chicagotaxteam.com. And now listen to our sponsors. Come on back right here on AM 560, The Answer.